Buongiorno, è Paolo Pesta, Film.it. Volevo chiedere a Vin Diesel, negli anni 80 c'erano Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis. Oggi pensiamo soprattutto a lei come icona action e a Jason Statham, per esempio. Quali sono stati i suoi modelli di icona action e se vede film con Jason Statham, cosa ne pensa? Giro la domanda anche a Michelle Rodriguez, dal momento che anche lei è un'eroina action. Grazie.
Well, we all loved Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. We all grew up on Stallone movies. Ironically, it was their stardom that created that title that you talk about, the action star. Prior to that, we were just watching Elia Kazan movies and Marlon Brando movies and Gone with the Wind. These were all action movies in their day, but they were just called movies, they were called films. They didn't have that action film or action star label on it. So those are my heroes. I approach every role that I do, whether it's Dom Toretto or Jackie DiNorcio in Find Me Guilty, with the same conviction. One film calls for more action and one film calls for more prosthetics. But I approach each role the same, with the same commitment. And I hope that that translates in my work. I hope that you come to see this Fast and Furious and recognize that there's heart and integrity in it, and that we're not just relying on the explosion and the huge action set pieces, and that we are trying to make something more significant, and we're all trying to come in there without the labels of action heroes and so on and so forth. So to answer your question directly, my role models date further back than Arnold and Stallone, although they contributed to my desire to do big films. When we were growing up in New York, you never felt more empowered than leaving the theater after a good Stallone film or a good Arnold film. There was something exciting, there was something where you felt like you could take on the world. That element we try to bring into the films. You see a Triple X or something, you come out of that film and you think you could save the planet.
And as far as I've gone in the industry, you know, I used to like all the James Cameron characters, you know, Alien, you know, Sigourney Weaver, Linda Hamilton. I still do respect and love, you know, actresses like Sandra Bullock and Julia Roberts. Anybody who really didn't rip their clothes off, you know, in front of the camera, I really appreciated their work. You know, there's three kinds of women in my book that deserve massive amounts of respect. You have the Cleopatra, you know, who uses her charm to get where she wants to go. Doesn't necessarily have to have sex with you, but knows that she has a power as a woman and knows how to use it to get her way in life. And then you have the mother, you know, who understands unconditional love and nurturing. And this is a beautiful creature who, you know, gives birth to love. I appreciate these women, and they're beautiful. But there's one that doesn't get that much attention and hasn't been exploited in Hollywood, and that's the warrior princess. She's very honest, you know, what you see is what you get. And she will stand her ground and has lots of integrity. And, you know, the majority of the time, you know, I do these really tough roles that seem very masculine, but that's only due to the lack of creativity in the 95% of writers in Hollywood, which are men who are usually married and don't know any interesting action you know, active, you know, cool girls. They don't know them, so, you know, the majority of the time you see me playing really masculine type roles, but in reality, you know, I think that warrior princess can be beautiful, she can be sexy, but until people respect her and until she's a common thing in Hollywood, I'm gonna have to keep being this macho girl, you know. So that's where I stand regularly.
Salve, Mauro Antonini, Segno Cinema, signor Diesel. Io quando penso alla sua carriera mi vengono in mente tre icone fondamentali che sono i miei personaggi favoriti, Riddick, Don Toretto chiaramente e Xander Cage. Volevo chiedere, visto che due di questi personaggi sono stati serializzati, lei li ha interpretati più di una volta, mentre Xander Cage è rimasto soltanto al primo XXX, che cosa è dipesa la scelta di quali personaggi continuare in sequel e quali altri invece fermarsi ad un solo capitolo? E ugualmente alla signorina Michelle mi piacerebbe rivederla in un sequel di Resident Evil anche sotto forma di zombie.
Sometimes Hollywood gets too horny. I talked about that earlier. It took me 5 years to return to the Riddick character. It took me 8 years to return to the Dom Toretto character. And Rob Cohen is going to direct the next XXX, The Return of Xander. It goes back to what I was talking about before. I haven't been, Hollywood hasn't been able to buy me. I don't just do a sequel because they're ready and they have a script that they think could get foreign financing. It's much more important to maintain the integrity of the character. And sometimes a studio doesn't want to wait for that integrity and will try to rush a sequel. But when you say that those are some of your favorite characters, that's why I do them, and that's why I won't compromise that. I feel like I owe it to you, as a fan of those characters, and as somebody that can escape from these movies, to hold the line. Sometimes with that, you get the, he's difficult, or he's not, whatever way they want to spin it. But the reality is, if a character is sacred to me, I'm sometimes the last, the final arbiter, the last defense. And I want you to know that if I do a movie, I'm doing it with my heart. Otherwise, I won't do it. Otherwise, I won't compromise it. I can be, you know, I've been charged with being too precious sometimes, and sometimes I hold the script standard too high for some people, where they say, just be in the movie. But it's very important to me to hold that line. You know, I started out in theater many, many years ago when I was a kid in New York, and I think that filmmaking is something very sacred. And I think the art of filmmaking is something very sacred. And I just refuse to compromise with that. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get the right story to return to the character. And I hope you appreciate, you know,